And just like that, we are live once again. Rooted in Sports podcast. Swan Dunn back in the building and here with I mean, look, first of all, bro, we probably gonna have to go ahead and just give you a nickname. You know what I'm saying? We got Swan Dunn, we got King Tiberius. I don't know, man. We're gonna have to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. The kid, I don't know, Kid Man. I don't know. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to we gonna have to, you know what I'm saying? Special K or something. I don't know. We're gonna have to come up with something, man. But
Yeah, for
once
sure.
again, Mr. Isaiah Kidd has joined us once again, man. And
Yes.
you know, as always, man, you always there to fill in, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I done missed the last, couple weeks. I'm sure Kenny
Hmm.
has told everyone about my move and everything.
Hmm.
And now Kenny is celebrating the birthday, you know what I'm saying? He got a birthday coming up, so he doing this thing, little razzle dazzle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Mr. Kid once again filling in, man. Much love, much appreciation.
Absolutely.
Um
No problem.
we got a lot to get into, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, a lot of basketball, man. I can't
Hmm.
wait to talk about the Eastern Conference Finals, about Game 7 last night, and then talk
Yes.
about the NBA Finals, man. So yeah, we definitely got a lot to get into, man. You ready for this, bro?
I am.
All right, well, with that being said, I mean, it wouldn't be rooted in sports if we ain't hit you with the intro. So 3, 2, 1. Man, you know what? I'm gonna have to turn the headphones down or turn the mic down or something, cause that thing be coming through something serious, man.
Yeah, it does. It
Gee,
does.
gee whiz, I be feeling official.
Yeah. No, really.
But once again, man, for everybody that's viewing, much love. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know we stream it. I'm gonna say it all. I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. I know we stream this thing across our Facebook pages as well. But if you go on our Instagram page, Rooted in Sports, just like it's spelled, scrolling across the bottom there, Rooted in Sports. Go to our Instagram page. The link is there, and check us out via YouTube. Go ahead and comment and whatnot via YouTube. That way we can see and we can kind of live interact with you guys. But with that being said, welcome to another episode of the Rooted in Sports podcast. A lot to get into today, man. I'm really excited about this, Mr. Kit, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, Ira. I'm excited to get into the topics that we have today. So I'm first, I'm appreciative for you guys bringing me on, especially this Memorial Day weekend. So celebrate Memorial Day. Shouts out to all the veterans and so forth. But I'm just appreciative you guys will keep bringing me back on. I'm doing something right, I
Say,
guess.
I was just gonna say you must be doing something right, huh?
Yeah,
No
for
doubt,
sure.
no doubt, man. We definitely appreciate having you on, and yeah, we just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Obviously, big news for us today, especially for us basketball fans. Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 went down last night, with the Boston Celtics coming out on top by a score of 100-96 over the Miami Heat in Miami too. Boston won that Game 7 on the road, and it seemed like Boston really controlled that game until maybe like the last 3 or 4 minutes, and then Miami went on the run, something crazy, and it made it really interesting down the stretch. It was really great basketball. But Isaiah, man, I guess I'm gonna just ask you, man, what did you think about Game 7 last night, and what ultimately helped the Boston Celtics come out on top?
What I think about Game 7 last night between Boston and Miami. First, I had Boston winning in 6 games. I think I was on. I think I was on here where I made
Mm-hmm.
that prediction. I had Boston
Mm-hmm.
winning in 6 games. I thought just talent for talent. I thought Boston had the better squad, the more versatile squad. I thought they just had the better team,
Yeah.
offensively, and but we know how great both teams are defensively to kind of cancel out each other. But Boston's really good defensively. They've been the one defense this year. But then I thought the real separation was offensively. I thought Boston had more offensive firepower and weapons than Miami. In terms of Game 7, I'm gonna sound a little weird here, but I was,
Okay.
and it kind of speaks to my original point and stance about Boston being the better team. I was more impressed with Miami's performance than Boston's performance because Boston, I thought, like all along before the series started and now after game 7, I thought all along Boston was a better team, and I thought the better team's going to win this series without a shadow of doubt. But the mere fact that Miami, and I know the game 7 was on their floor, but they have really one go-to reliable scorer on their squad,
especially with Tyler Hero being hurt, and he gave it a try yesterday, but he couldn't quite fight through it.
You could just tell he couldn't go. Like he was literally like 50%. He was grimacing and so forth.
So they ended up playing a lot of Victor Oladipo during the game and down the stretch, trying to make up for that offensive output.
Right. And I thought the mere fact that Miami, like you said, Boston really couldn't, like from the first quarter on jump, Boston really controlled the game thoroughly. But then towards the end of the quarters, you would see Boston have a double-digit lead, but Miami would try to cut back and cut around. Yeah, they hung around, they cut the lead, and then eventually, like the last 3 minutes, I thought, okay, Boston's up 13. Like, hey, they're gonna dribble this thing out.
You think they got it in the bag, right?
Yeah, and then Miami make one last push, and they make the game closer than what it needs to be. I think it's a little bit of both powers of Boston, struggling a little bit down the stretch and just missing shots and almost damn near giving away the game. But then Miami, the fight and the passion and the effort that they give, it definitely showed. So after game 7, my recap is I walk away being a little bit more impressed with Miami despite the loss, and I expected the loss because I thought Boston was the better team offensively. But you got guys in Miami like Bam Adebayo who just wasn't good enough offensively.
Especially for the series, he really had I believe that was game 2 and game 7 or whatnot, and that was really it. Game 3, I think it was. Game 7
in Boston. Game 3, the game that Robert Williams didn't play.
Right, exactly. I think those are the only 2 games where he really showed himself to be prevalent as far as on the offensive end, man.
Made an imprint, yeah.
As for me, man, I think first of all, I think you hit it on the nail. I think at the end of the day, the Boston Celtics were the better team. With that being said, I did expect this to be a 7-game series just because I feel like Miami is just a tough, gritty, experienced team. I think that they definitely missed Tyler Hero and that offensive input that he provides off the bench. 6th man of the year, getting about 20, almost 21 a game off the bench. They definitely missed that. Like I said, I think they were trying to use Victor Oladipo, who missed a vast majority of the season, who was really trying to get his legs up under him during their playoff run. And now they looked up and they're depending on him for some sort of offensive output. You know what I'm saying? I think Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, he did what he could. You know what I'm saying? I mean, those last 2 games from Jimmy were, especially that game 6, man. I mean, that game 6 performance almost reminded me of LeBron's game 6 performance.
That's what I tweeted out.
2012. Yeah, I think it was 2012. It was really eerily similar, man. But every big shot, every big bucket, every big play, Jimmy Butler made it. And I think he went into game 7 with that same mindset. Like you said, Boston really controlled this game. Toward the end of each quarter, you see Miami kind of make a little run or, have a little stretch where they just hang around. They'll stay within striking distance. They'll break a 13, 15-point lead down to a 6, 7, 8-point lead or whatnot. And then, you had that stretch there in the 4th quarter. You're up, 13 points with a little over 3 minutes left. Then all of a sudden for who I believe to be in the Boston Celtics, I think they, especially the second half of the season, I think they were the best defensive team in the NBA.
Absolutely.
So to see them, that good a defensive team, allow an 11-0 run like that, and then now you look, and basically in about 2 minutes, and now you look up, and here's Jimmy Butler with the ball in his hands in transition with the opportunity to tie and or win the game.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I'm gonna say this about that possession.
I'm gonna ask you, how do you feel about that shot?
Okay. Do I think that he should have attacked the bucket? Yes. But as a coach, as Eric Spoelstra, you know what I'm saying? Did I go to bed last night thinking what if? No, because at the end of the day, that's your guy, and you're gonna live and ride off of his play. And
Yes.
it wasn't a terrible shot, as in the actual shot that he took. I think that what makes it a little questionable is just the timing. You know what I'm saying? Because I immediately when I seen him take that shot, when I seen him miss the shot, immediately in my mind I thought, was he trying to get a 2-for-1? Or did he think he had the opportunity to get a 2-for-1? Because the shot clock was already off. It was about 19, 20 seconds or so.
20 to 19, like 19 to 20 seconds left. Yes.
Yeah. So the shot clock was already off. So immediately in my mind, I'm thinking, did he think he was going to get a 2-for-1? And then I guess secondly, and I didn't think about this until afterward. And I was listening to Stephen A. Smith, and he came up with a really good point. Jimmy Butler played the vast majority of Game 6, and I think he played all of Game 7.
He did.
So you might have been looking at a guy who was a little fatigued and just thought, hey, this is my team. They're riding off me. And he had it going. He was playing well, you know what I'm saying? And he probably was thinking, you know what? Hey, I'm going to just go ahead and end this thing. But I would have liked to have seen him take it to the bucket, because either way, Boston was going to get another opportunity.
Right.
So I would have preferred to have seen him, take it to the bucket, especially you had Al Horford kind of backpedaling or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then if you noticed, with the exception of that Max Strus 3 that they got off the timeout and that out of bounds play, all the other buckets were them driving and attacking the basket,
Yep. And that's what, in terms of that last possession with Jimmy Butler, that was going to be my point. I kind of echo some of the similar sentiments you said, like, hey, was that necessarily like the best shot at the moment? Mm-hmm. No, but as a head coach, like if I'm Eric Spoelstra, no, I'm not going to lose sleep over Jimmy.
Yeah, you got to live with it. That's your best player.
Yeah, for sure. But my thought process automatically went to, okay, the last two shots that Miami made were two layups, coincidentally, over Al Horford. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, the 3-point shot, there was time left. I thought Jimmy was going to attack in transition, because the worst case scenario, he probably gets fouled and there's 2 free throws. Best case scenario, he gets the layup like they did the previous 2 possessions, or he gets the layup and possibly an and one situation. So I thought in the moment, I get it, I understand the shot, but I think looking back at it, and I think if Jimmy even looked back at it, he probably won't regret it necessarily, but I think he'll probably admit that, like, me being aggressive and continue my aggression and attacking the rim would probably been the better option, because like you said, Boston still would have got a shot. Like, they still would have got a chance after whatever happened with Jimmy. Whether he shot the 3 and made the 3 or attacked the basket, they still would have got an opportunity.
And I got to point a couple things out here. Once again, I seen a few guys on watching via Facebook, and they threw out a few comments I want to get to. But once again, guys, if you go Instagram, Rooted in Sports, follow the link there on the homepage. Also, if you look at my previous post from the day, I did put the link for the Rooted in Sports YouTube page. So once again, guys, for everybody that's looking via Facebook, you can just hit that YouTube link that I put on my previous post today on Facebook. It'll take you right to our YouTube page, and then just hop on the live session here. And that way you can comment via YouTube, and we can see you guys' comments live or whatnot. But I have to say something. Shout out to my boy Jordan. He did mention something that I was actually getting ready to get to. Boston's execution down the stretch was a little questionable too, and I think that's something that we might want to look at and pay attention to moving forward in the finals. If you look down the stretch, not only did Marcus Smart take the last 5 shots for the Boston Celtics, but he missed all 5.
Yeah,
and I know that I noticed that down the stretch of that game, they were sending the double team at Jason Tatum so that he can kind of, they didn't want him to necessarily have the ball in his hands.
Right.
And he was kicking it out. He was doing what he was supposed to do.
Absolutely.
But I think if you're Marcus Smart, he was taking a couple of those shots with, 12, 13, 14 seconds left in the shot clock. And he's taking these deep threes. I think a lot of them were 3-point attempts.
Like
he's taking these deep threes. You know,
at least more than half of those shots were 3-point attempts. Direct.
And he just he missing them, bro. They just bouncing off the rim or whatnot. I think that moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see how Boston makes adjustments in those situations down the stretch because, no offense to Marcus Smart, and actually I think he ended up with about 23, 24 points for the game.
Yes, he did.
So I mean, he wasn't terrible, but just down the stretch, I don't think you want Marcus Smart taking those shots down the stretch. I think you want to find a way. If they're going to be double teaming Jason Tatum like that, I would think that your second best option would be find a way to get the ball in Jaylen Brown's hands. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Tatum's your first option in that situation, but I think you want to find a way to get the ball in Jaylen Brown's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that someone mentioned that because I had that written down as one of my key points and takes for when we discussed the NBA Finals matchup. So I completely agree. I had this. I was thinking the same thing as I saw Marcus Smart continuing to just take the open shot, or anytime Tatum would throw the ball out of the double team, he would, that would happen. So.
Yeah, man. But once again, man, it was a great Game 7.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to the Boston Celtics for winning Game 7. Rob, what's going on? This my little brother right here. What's going on, Rob? But congratulations to the Boston Celtics for winning Game 7 and moving on to the NBA Finals. And now, they got a big task ahead of them. They'll be facing the Golden State Warriors next. Now, this is an interesting matchup for a ton of reasons. One of the things to be pointed out here is that, obviously the Golden State Warriors have been to 6 of the last 8 finals, an extremely experienced NBA team. Vice the Boston Celtics, they don't have a single person on their roster with NBA Finals experience.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of extremely interesting elements to look at this NBA Finals from. And so we're going to go ahead and just kind of give our thoughts on it. But I guess first off, I was just kind of wondering, bro, can you give me some players from each team, not necessarily none of the big names, but just some players from each team who can make a huge impact and really sway these finals in one direction or the other?
You want me to give my prediction, or you want me to hold that off?
Hold that off. Just give me a couple impact players.
Right.
Hold the prediction off. We're going to do that together. But just a couple impact players that can make a difference. Not necessarily the Tatums or the Currys or somebody, but a couple impact players that can make a difference.
Okay, so when I'm thinking of this series and this matchup, as you said, there's a lot of interesting elements. I'm thinking a player on or a couple players on both sides. So for Golden State, I'll start with Golden State. I think a guy like Andrew Wiggins, I know he's a starter, but I think a guy like Andrew Wiggins is going to be really beneficial, and I'll tell you why. I think with Wiggins, it's not so much. Obviously, he does what he does offensively. He's going to get he's been good for Golden State for about 16 points per game in these playoffs, and has been really good, and had a coming out party versus Dallas in the conference.
People forget that he made his first All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah. So like Wiggins, and as controversial and as questionable as that is, like he made it. He made it. He's really had like a resurrection. He's like resurrected his career almost in Golden State. And it's not that he was a bad player necessarily, but the potential, he never really met his potential. But I think his biggest thing is defensively. I think he's always had the athleticism to be a really, really good defender and mixed with the length.
Right.
Since he's gotten to Golden State, he has definitely turned into a really good defender. And his primary assignment last series was guarding and defending Luka Doncic. And I would say, obviously, you don't stop players.
You don't stop. You hope to contain.
You hope to contain. And I tell you the containment. Luka Doncic shot 48% versus Phoenix. He shot 41% versus Golden State. So that 7% dip off and drop off. Obviously, you look at his averages. You know, Luka's gonna be Luka, but that 7% drop off is drastic, and it was crucial and critical. So I'm thinking a guy like Andrew Wiggins is probably going to be lined up with Jason Tatum, and with Tatum, Tatum's a great player. Great offensive player. He's gonna have his nights where he's gonna make a couple of those step back threes, and it's just nothing. It's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely.
I think if Wiggins can wear out Tatum a little bit, I think Wiggins is going to be really beneficial. And I think a couple guys off the bench, such as maybe Andre Iguodala, you know, could he give you some plug-in minutes?
I believe they signed him and saved him for a time such as this.
Like this, he found some type of fountain of youth. Perhaps. I'm also thinking GP2. Gary Payton.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to. They say he might be back for the finals.
Yeah, so maybe he can come off his injury. But that's just I'm thinking with Golden State offensively, I think they're going to be fine. You got Curry, Clay, Poole, Wiggins. They're going to be great. I think with Golden State defensively, they had the mere fact that they're getting a couple of bodies back into that lineup, into that deep lineup already. It kind of goes back to their mantra, their first championship run, strengthening numbers.
Yeah.
And with Boston, I know it may seem like cliche, but Marcus Smart, and it's not even. And for me, obviously, his defense is going to be impactful. But I say Marcus Smart because of the offense. I think going up against Golden State offensively, the Celtics, obviously, we know their top two guys. Tatum and Brown. But after that, the way how Boston is constructed, they are a defensive-minded team with two really good perimeter scorers. Everybody else kind of fills in. They have Rob Williams at the dunker spot, but he's limited offensively. Al can stretch the floor. Grant Williams can stretch the floor. Derek White can come in and put the ball on the deck and shoot a little bit. But Marcus Smart, here's the key. Here's a stat. When Marcus Smart scores 20-plus points in this playoffs, the Celtics are undefeated. Now, it happens every 3 games. It's not a consistent.
If that, right?
Yeah, it happens every 3 to 4 games. But as you saw, the game, I think it was game 2, he came back, he scored 20-plus points. He had a huge impact. They won game 2 in this past series. And then game 7, as we talked about last night, despite the stretch down, despite, some
that went on down.
Down the stretch, he took some risky shots and some questionable shots, but he finished with 25 points on the night. So, and the Celtics won. So I think with the Celtics, they're a really, really good team. And I think they become a great team occasionally when Marcus Smart can score 20 points. It's as simple as that. I would also name maybe a guy off the bench, and I think with Boston, they only went 7 deep in Game 7 last night. So
if I don't know if a lot of people noticed this, they only play 7 to 8 guys.
Grant Williams, Derek White, and then a little bit of Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
Depending on the weather.
Some games he'll play 20 minutes, some games he'll play 5, but that's really it. They don't. Guys like Tice, who I thought would play a little bit of a larger role for them, they don't really see the floor. They stick to their 7 to 8 guys, man. I think as for me, I guess I'll start with Golden State. For me, I echo your sentiments. I think that Andrew Wiggins will be an extremely important player for this series. You really threw a monkey wrench in it though, because I had forgot that Gary Payton II was supposed to be coming back for this series.
Yeah,
they say he'll be healthy for game 1. So that could be big right there. But yeah, I think Andrew Wiggins is going to be really important for them, and the job that he can do playing against Jason Tatum. I think that'll be his primary defensive matchup, obviously. I think that also if he can do a good job on Jason Tatum, because I feel like they're just going to want him to focus his energy there. But if he can give them, 15 or 20 points or so offensively, that's just a plus for them. You know what I'm saying? And then as for Boston, I think Grant Williams, man. I think Grant Williams has had some huge games. I think he had the one game he made like 7-8 threes or something. You know what I'm
Game
saying?
7 versus the Bucks.
He's definitely shown that he has the ability to knock down shots, and then defensively, I think he's about 6'7", 6'8". He got a nice build to him, but he can slide and move his feet. So you know they're more than willing to, you know what I'm saying, play him out there. And you know, 1 minute you'll see him guarding the 4 or the 5. The next minute you might see him get switched out and he's in front of Victor Oladipo or Kyle Lowry or somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy though, because I remember watching him in college when he was at Tennessee. I remember watching him in college, and I you know, it's crazy the way the league is going and the way, you know, these players develop now. Because I remember watching him in college and just thinking to myself, like, you know, man, he was as a matter of fact, I think he won SEC Player of the Year one year.
Yeah.
But I remember watching him in college, and I just remember thinking, like, man, you know, I think he's gonna struggle on the next level because he's a little bit of a tweener. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that lingo, that tweener.
He is, man. And then, you know, I mean, he had a solid jump shot, but it wasn't. I didn't see this.
He wasn't a marksman.
He has turned himself almost into like a real knockdown shooter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think with his versatility defensively, as well as his ability to knock down the open jump shot, I think he can really play some huge dividends for them. One thing about this series, though, that I think is going to be, you know, really interesting to watch is that I really wonder which team is going to control the pace, because I think that as far as Golden State, I think for them to be successful, they're going to have to get the game into a track meet. They're going to have to get it going up and down. Not that they can't score, but I don't think they would want Boston to have a chance to sit back and set up their half court defense, because they're such a great defensive team, and they can throw these lineups out there where they can be just so versatile and they can just switch everybody and everything. You know what I'm saying? On the flip side, I think Boston would like to slow it down. I think Boston might like to make it a ugly defensive possession by possession game. You know what I'm saying? I think they like to and I can't even say play bully ball, because in this Dallas Mavericks series, in the Golden State series against the Dallas Mavericks, I think they out-rebounded Dallas every game except for one out of the 5 games. I think they out-rebounded them 4 out of the 5 games.
Yeah,
which is crazy to see them. And they were not just out-rebounding them, like they were completely dominating the board.
Dominating the boards.
Which brings out another possible impact player for Golden State. And I was a little reluctant to bring his name up because I wasn't quite sure if he'll really even have the opportunity to get that much play time. I think once again, it'll be one of those things that's dependent upon pace and everything.
Yeah.
But Kevon Looney played big for them against Golden State, man.
Absolutely.
He was out there, you know, he really made his presence felt, and not even so much scoring, but just rebounding. In game 5, he had 10 points, 18 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, he averaged double-digit rebounds for the series. And for a team like Golden State, if they can get, you know, one of those bigs to average those type of rebounds and maybe just kind of defend the rim here or there, that'd be big for them, man.
Yeah. I agree. I think I always talk about how it's so impressive that Golden State is so undersized. But I said this during the Memphis series, they would get so many second and third look opportunities on offense. It's like, well, if you're going to give them that many opportunities, that like they might miss 1 or 2 shots, but like if you give it like
a team that shoots that well with those caliber of shooters, I mean, you're asking for trouble.
That's the second chance rebound 3-point shot is the absolute most efficient 3-point shot that an offense can take. And I know a lot of people are like wondering the contrast in styles and fights. As you already mentioned, you said Golden State might want to get a little up and down, fast pace a little bit, push the tempo. Boston might want to slow it down and, you know, make it like a fist fight, or, you know, make it, you know, slug it out a little bit. And I'm thinking with this, I think with Boston, they are used to, because from most of the league, if anybody doesn't know, most NBA teams throughout the league, they depend on offensively finding mid smashes, and usually they have a shooter that's weak side and so forth. So a lot of defenses, almost every defense in the NBA, really focus on trying to defend ball screens and pick and rolls.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. With Golden State, they run a motion offense. So they have two guys basically motioning and moving in nonstop movement. And the rest of the offense flows around that movement. So it's not so they
and a point forward and Draymond Green, who
right.
is as much gripe as I tend to have with him, he's a very intelligent NBA player, and he always seems to make the right decision.
Absolutely. And they run the fewest amount of ball screens in the NBA. So the way how Boston is usually, like how they usually defend, where it's just like man to man, and they man up their guy and they switch pick and rolls and ball screens. You're not going to get that type of action from Golden State. It's going to be Marcus Smart chasing and running behind and trying to fight through screens, running behind.
Not a lot of straight up one-on-one defending the guy.
Right. And it's so funny because I always say this about Steph Curry. He is more dangerous without the basketball than he is with the basketball. So it's going to be a lot of him running behind screens, him, you're going to have to be chasing Curry, and then like he's going to catch it, he's going to throw it back. So with Boston, it's going to be a different type of style. And we talked about it. They only go 7 deep. So if the tempo is up and
fast pick,
and you're running and you're chasing, like it's gonna take a lot, and it's gonna be a lot of toll on guys like Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, who could potentially be running all around and trying to fight through these screens. That can take its toll. So I think it's going to be, as you mentioned it, the pace of the game is going to be really important. And then I'll also add to the point that we already made a little bit was
Andre. He don't get tired, do he? He be running a marathon, don't he?
He does not get tired.
Real. Shout out to Dre.
The point you also made was, or someone else in Facebook, like execution. Boston, if you watch this series, Boston throughout the series struggled at the end of quarters. We know Golden State feasts on end of quarter runs, having those third quarter surges, the fourth quarter surges, those three.
And we just seen Boston in this past series in Game 7 struggling ending quarters.
Yeah, I mean, and not just Game 7. I mean, like really all throughout this series, Boston had quarters and stretches where it was like it was a dry spell.
To show they youth just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I think execution is going to be huge in terms of ending quarters and down the stretch. Their players get a little tight.
And then I was just sitting here thinking too, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of, that pace of the game or whatnot.
Yeah.
We already mentioned a couple of guys, but really Golden State has some guys, even if we go on a little deeper down their bench, you know what I'm saying? We mentioned Wiggins, we mentioned Gary Payton II. You talked about Iguodala possibly. They got Otto Porter as well.
Porter, he's coming back.
Yeah. So I mean, they talk about some guys that they can throw at a Tatum or throw at a Jaylen Brown. They got quite a few guys, even a Kuminga. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking. Kuminga's an athlete too.
He's
19. What I'm saying? For real,
19,
and he's an athlete
too. An athlete.
So they got a few guys right in that mold, in that 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" range and mold that they can throw at these guys, man. So I mean, once again, I think it's gonna make for a really interesting series because, like we said, guys like a Tatum and even Jaylen Brown is kind of getting into that mold where guys like that, you really don't stop them. You just really just trying to contain them. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, man, like I said, it is the NBA Finals. I think it's going to be an incredible finals. And now I want you to go ahead and I guess give me your NBA Finals prediction. So if you can give me, what team you think will win and why, how many games, and who's your Finals MVP?
Okay, so I'm going with the Warriors to win this series in 6 games. This is
Mm,
I think in terms of the NBA, this is a really good matchup. I think with the history of the Celtics and a young Jason Tatum turning in and like he's turning into a superstar before our eyes, and then we have the
yes.
Warriors. Like you said, they made 6 out of the last 8 finals. They've been here and done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the Warriors to win in 6 games. I picked the Warriors to win the NBA championship in October before the season started. I picked them to win the NBA championship before the playoffs started. So
Can't hop off that bandwagon now.
yeah. So I gotta see it through. I'm gonna pick them in 6 games, and like I said, I think Boston they're gonna win a couple. Like this series is gonna be very watchable. And
Mm-hmm.
Boston's going to win a couple games. I think they're going to win a couple games. I will say this about them. I think Boston offensively, not so much defensively, because they're gonna have to work out the matchups, and we'll see. Like we already discussed, we'll see how they defend and scheme against this different Warriors offense. Because like I said, it's so different from what the rest of the league does in terms of the typical ball screen stuff and the shooters in the weak side corner and so forth. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see how they adjust to that. But if if Boston offensively, if they can't get a consistent dosage of Marcus Smart, which I don't think they can. Like I
Right.
said, I think Marcus Smart is a great player. I think he is really good defensively. But to ask him to get you 20 points 4 times versus this Warriors deep, like we talk about Boston's like the Warriors defense is top 3 defense as well. So they're no slouch
They
defensively.
are. They are.
They're gonna
They
defend.
are.
So I think with that, the lack of offensive firepower going up against Golden State, I'm gonna choose them to win. I'm gonna choose Golden State to win in 6 games. I have Steph as my Finals MVP. I think he'll finally break
Mm.
through, break down that door, get that monkey off his back, and win Finals MVP for the first time in his career. And I think the Warriors, they become 4-time champs with this core.
Interesting. All right. Well, I think this is a 7-game series.
Okay.
I think I think this will be one of the most entertaining final series that we've had since, I'm gonna say, probably Cavs Golden State 2016 when the Cavs came back 3-1.
Okay.
I think this will be probably the most entertaining final series since then. Um, I just think that this is a great matchup for the NBA
Yep.
because of the difference in the styles. They got, you know, they got their superstars with Steph Curry. They got the young and up and coming star and Jason Tatum. You got your experienced coach with Steve Kerr. You got your rookie first year head coach and Ime Udoka, which, by the way, I just want to say he's done a phenomenal job.
Yes.
He has
I
done
forgot to
a
mention him.
phenomenal job,
I
man.
picked him for coach of the year.
This is a team. I think I had I think I had Taylor Jenkins with Memphis.
Okay.
But yeah, he's done a phenomenal job, man. This is a team that at one point they were under 500, I think, almost right up into the All-Star break, and then they came out after the All-Star break and just took the NBA by storm, man, and got all the way to the finals, man. So shout out to Ime Udoka. With that being said, I'm going with the Golden State Warriors in 7 games.
Okay.
I'm picking them because I just think that they have that championship pedigree and they have so many guys with so much experience. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to make a big difference down the stretch, especially in a game 7. B, I think that they'll be reminded of 2016 and what happened to them in game 7 on their home court. And I think that, you'll see, Draymond and Clay and some of those, Iguodala who was there. You're going to see some of those guys really, really, really step their game up, really, really play with a ton of heart and a ton of intensity to not allow that to happen again. I think that Steph remembers his play in that game 7 because I don't know what he was doing that game 7, man. He had the one possession, he threw the behind the back joint out of bounds. I remember just watching like, dude, what
what
are
is
you
happening?
doing?
Yeah.
for real. But yeah, I think that I think he really kind of comes out and plays with some intensity. Quietly, Steph Curry is having a really great playoff run. Like he's playing really well. I know a
Yeah.
lot of times one of the knocks on him is that, he doesn't necessarily play as well during the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Tends to disappear sometimes during the playoffs. But I think this year he's played really, really, really well during this playoff run. And I agree with you. I think that he gets into these finals and he plays well. And I think he finally gets that I think he finally gets that NBA Finals MVP, and I think Golden State wins this in 7 because of their championship experience. Real quick though, I got a quick question for you. Just a little aside. I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, let's say Steph Curry does win this championship. This is his 4th title. Um, for you, where would that put Steph Curry in the pantheon of greats? You know what I'm saying? Would that put him top 10 or top 5? Would you move him ahead of someone? Where would that put him on your all-time point guards list? You know what I'm saying? Because a championship this year and a finals MVP, now he's pretty much ran the gauntlet. You know what I'm saying? MVP
Yeah.
is the only unanimous MVP, the
Ever.
NBA all-time leader in 3-point field goals made, and he's going to take that number and just blow that out the map. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And now you 4 championships, and then you add a finals MVP. For you, where would that put Steph Curry all time for you?
It's funny that you say that. I will say this about Steph. I already think, in my opinion, already he's probably top 15 all time. So if he adds another championship to the resume along with a finals MVP, I think him cracking the top 10 is certainly within the discussion. And I think he would have a very valid argument for being top 10. I know usually people's top 10, not in no particular order, but it usually probably consists of Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Bill Russell, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, Duncan, and maybe Olajuwon. That's just 10 names that you usually
look, that's a hell of a 10 to just run off like that. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Hey,
But
I
that's
really
usually,
can't. I really can't argue with any name in that 10 though. Like it's a hell of a 10 you just ran off.
That's usually the names that you hear. You might hear someone say Wilt within the top 10, but like I said, no particular order. That's usually the 10 you hear. I think Steph with his resume, as you already mentioned, I don't think it's crazy to mention him within that 10 and replacing someone. I think it's very much I think he has a very much valid argument. If he adds to his resume with a championship and a finals MVP, I definitely will have to reconsider him for top 10 player of all time. Absolutely.
For me, I think that I would almost have to put him at least in my top 10.
Oh yeah, and also in terms of point guard list, I'm sorry, he'd probably be 2.
I'm assuming Magic's 1.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. As far as for me, I would almost have to put him in my top 10 all-time NBA players list, and that's because if he wins this ring, he'd probably be like 1A or 1B for me on the all-time point guard list. Yeah. Now listen, I love Magic Johnson. Like, I don't even think, he has great stats, but I don't even think statistically it shows how great a player and leader Magic Johnson was. For those of you, maybe you look young and all you hear about is Magic Johnson and what he used to do, and you see Steph Curry now and you don't know, why don't everybody just say Magic Johnson is Magic Johnson is? This is what I'm gonna say right here. As a rookie in the NBA Finals in Game 6 in a closeout game without Kareem, he goes 42, 15, and 7, plays all 5 positions
at Philadelphia
as a rookie in the NBA Finals
On the
in
road.
game in Philadelphia on the road
Yeah.
without Kareem. Okay, that's what he does as a rookie. Okay, kid was special. So I love Magic Johnson, but gotta call a spade a spade. Steph gets this ring that gives him 4. If I'm not mistaken, Magic has 4.
Five.
5. Okay, Magic has 5. Okay, that gives Steph 4. Steph has what? Multiple 2 MVPs, one unanimous, only unanimous MVP ever. And
He's
this is the
changed
thing
the
I
game.
think. I think this is the thing you have to consider too. Like you said, he has changed the game moving forward, and then he is the best ever at something. Like he's number 1 on a list.
Right.
He is the greatest shooter we've ever seen. He already has the all-time record for most 3-pointers made. And by the time he's done playing, we'll probably never see that record eclipsed.
Yeah.
And like I said, he is the only unanimous MVP in history. So I think when you tie all those things together, and then you finally have him a Finals MVP as well, I think that he has to be in the top 10. Now, don't get me up here trying to figure out who we taking out, especially for the 10 you just named, because I mean, you named 10 studs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't get me up here trying to figure out who we're taking out. But all I am saying is, you know what I'm saying, he gets this, and I obviously we both agree that he will win the championship this year. If he gets this Finals MVP, for you, he's in the conversation. For me, don't ask me who I'm taking out yet, but I have to put him in the top 10, bro.
Yeah, and when I say in the conversation, like I would definitely lean towards him being within the 10. Like they're at this point, as you said, if you're talking about impact, changing the game, and then just complete utter dominance, because you think of all the other great players, like the 2 great players that come to mind in this era is LeBron and Durant. Well, he's beaten LeBron multiple times on the final stage. And, we can say what we want about it, but Durant joined him, and now he's winning without Durant. So it's like
he already had a ring without Durant, and he's possibly, on the verge of getting another one after Durant leaves. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. I mean, I just thought I'd throw that out there. But we're gonna go ahead and switch it up real quick. Obviously, we got one of the NBA's kind of flagship organizations in the Boston Celtics in the finals, and we have another one of their organizations in the Lakers, not even in the playoffs, but the middle of the news this week by going ahead and hiring one Mr. Darvin Ham. For those of y'all that don't know, Darvin Ham played in the league probably about 7 or 8 years, and then he's kind of made his way as an assistant. He's really kind of followed Mike Budenholzer. I know he was an assistant for Mike in Atlanta, and then now recently with Milwaukee. I believe he was on the championship team. He was an assistant on the championship team.
Yep.
So he's really just kind of followed Mike Budenholzer. Another young guy, and now he'll get to take over the reins in LA. LeBron James has went on Instagram and voiced his approval of the move. So I'm gonna just throw it out there to you, bro. A, what do you think about the hire? And then B, from there, what do you think are some things or some moves that the Lakers could possibly look at to improve the team and maybe get them back into the playoffs?
So in terms of the hire, I thought it was the best possible option. I thought this was the right choice. Some of the other guys that they named that were candidates, they were retreads, and this is, mind you, this is the Lakers' 6th coach in 11 seasons. So,
oh wow, I didn't know that.
So like, it's like
pretty much since Phil left, it's just been
it's been guys it's in rotation. The Mike Browns, the Mike D'Antonis. Like it's
I
just
think Luke Walton had a little run there for a second.
I mean, it's been utterly ridiculous with the way how the Lakers change coaches. They change coaches like we change our underwear every day. Like, it's just crazy. But
Word.
I think this is the right. I think this is the proper and correct hire. Darvin Ham, he gives like you said, he's under Budenholzer. It seems like he's been following Budenholzer, and we all know Budenholzer comes from Popovich. He reminds me a lot of Ime Udoka. Now I'm not saying he's gonna have the same success, and because he's not inhabiting, and what he has inhabited isn't really the same.
Isn't quite the same.
Yeah, but
they got some issues.
Yeah, for sure. But I think in terms of Udoka, with the players kind of tuned out Brad Stevens, and Udoka brought some presence. Where like he played in the league, he's a man's man,
And it's crazy you say that too, because I love Brad Stevens. Like I think he's a heck of a coach. But I have to admit, like, you're right. You know what I'm saying? I think he was a great coach. I almost look at it like I almost equate that situation to Golden State situation with Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr. Even though I didn't think Mark Jackson deserved to lose his job. But I think you just seen a guy change a culture and get a team going in the right direction. And then you just seen another guy like a Steve Kerr in this situation, like an Ime Udoka, who comes in and they just got whatever it is, that little extra thing, whatever it was, to get them to the next level.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like we've seen this happen all over sports, whether it was in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tony Dungy in the late 90s, going into the early 2000s, and then Gruden take over. You mentioned the Warriors, and we're seeing the same thing with Udoka. With Darvin Ham, he gives me that same type of energy in terms of his presence. I think he's played in the league, so guys respected him, and he's a well-respected assistant that has had a lot of success. Say what you want about Budenholzer, but Budenholzer has some pretty good teams. Even down,
I mean, he's a championship winning coach now. So he's a championship winning coach now.
You got to put a little bit of respect on his name. So I think the idea of Darvin Ham for the Lakers, it fits. It works. Now, in terms of some move, I don't think Darvin Ham is going to be the guy that changes Russell Westbrook. By the way, I don't think there's going to be no guy that changes Russell Westbrook. So I think the Lakers are stuck with that. And if we already, a report came out earlier today, the Lakers, it seems like they intend to bring Russell Westbrook back because they don't want to give up additional assets in order to trade him. So, which is smart. So you're going to be stuck with Russell Westbrook. Year one, I think first of all, Darvin Ham's going to be given a long leash, a longer leash than what the Lakers.
I'd hope so.
Give. Right.
I'd hope so.
Right. He's going to be given a longer leash than what the Lakers typically give, and I think this first year he's going to have to thug it out. He's gonna have to thug it out with the Russell Westbrook situation. But I think the idea of Darvin Ham isn't necessarily wrong. I just think we have to tell the truth about the Lakers. LeBron is 38. Since he's joined the Lakers, he's played an average of 55 games. So
LeBron's going to give you year 20 next year, right?
Year 20. So it's like LeBron is gonna, on a yearly basis, he's still really good, but he's only going to play about 55 to 56 games.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, he's in his prime, but when is somebody going to tell his ass to go get healthy and eat better and get his body in better shape? And then,
I think he needs a new personal trainer or a new training crew or something, because something's not right there. It's no reason. It's no reason for him to be it's to the point now. It's literally to the point now that when I see him play, like I tense up, or I'm like, because I think like, he finna get hurt again. Or, you know what I'm saying? Somebody contest a shot real tough. Somebody play him a little tough. I'll be like, because I think he's gonna get hurt again.
Yeah. So he's literally a walking game of operation. And then with the whole Russell Westbrook thing, I mean, no, that is what it is. And then the whole Russell Westbrook thing, like, we know Westbrook And so you have LeBron, who's only going to play about 55 games.
Operation.
Anthony Davis, his health is contingent. And then Westbrook, he's going to play a full 82, but he's going to be so sporadic where it's like, he's decent in half of them. So I think with this whole Lakers situation, his play style, Russell Westbrook's play style, see somebody saying it, his play style isn't going to change. And I think with this whole Laker thing, everybody has blood on their hands. So I think everybody has like LeBron, Genie, Rob Pelinka, everybody, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, everybody got blood on their hands. And I just think
absolutely right.
I just think Darvin Ham's got to thug it out year one. They're going to clear out that $47 million that they owe to Westbrook. And then year two, I think they'd be in a better position to, make moves. We'll see what LeBron is. We'll see what Anthony Davis does and who, what the assets look like for the Lakers. But year one, he's got to thug it out. And the West is going to be better too. So, even if the Lakers are a little decent, the West is going to be better. The Clippers are going to be healthier. The Nuggets are going to be healthier. Phoenix is going to be back in some type of capacity. You got teams.
Memphis is only improving. You got to think Dallas is going to make a couple moves.
So teams going to get better. Even if the Lakers are decent, teams are still going to get better.
And it's crazy. You were talking about Russell Westbrook and what he's owed. He's owed more than LeBron. Yeah. LeBron's only getting about $44 million for next year, and Westbrook's on the book for $47,
nearly $50 million.
I think. First of all, I think that this was the best hire for the Lakers considering the circumstances. I don't think that there was a chance of them convincing any of the other big names to come and coach this team, simply because I think obviously LeBron, and don't get me wrong, LeBron is still great, you know what I'm saying? But he's not that LeBron that could just carry a team to the finals anymore, especially in the West, you know what I'm saying? And then I think people are really skeptical about Anthony Davis and his health, and are they going to get, 65, 70 games out of him or not? And then I don't think anyone wants to touch Russell Westbrook. I think that
not for that
and
price
it's crazy
tag.
Because no, definitely not for that price tag. Or I mean, even as a coach, I don't think any real established coach wants to go into that situation and have to try to figure out what to do with Russell Westbrook. And it's crazy because Russell Westbrook has been this player his whole career.
Yeah.
But now he just came into, the Lakers, into an organization with expectation, to an organization where they get all the nationally televised games. There's a lot of media coverage on them. And he just looked worse and worse and worse. Then he go, post-game press conference, and he'll say something that's just worse and worse and worse. Like, I didn't have no expectations coming into this season. Man, come on, man. Come on. Like, when he said that, I was flabbergasted.
I went tone deaf.
But like I said, I think for them, this was probably I had said this to somebody the other day. He talking about the Monstars took his talent. I was talking to somebody, and I had said that to them the other day. Sometimes he played like he was on Space Jam, and the Monstars took his talent. But yeah, I think for the Lakers, they're hoping that they can strike lightning in the bottle, like Ime Udoka, like Willie Green with the Pelicans, because I think he's going to be really good.
Excellent.
You know what I'm saying? I think that they're hoping to, just kind of hit the jackpot in a situation like that with this Darvin Ham hire. What I do think is that, like you said, Darvin Ham does have presence. He seems to already have the support of LeBron James, which is important,
which is huge.
And I think if nothing else, he's going to instill a little bit of toughness and light a little bit of a fire under them, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And crazy enough, even more so than the play of Russell Westbrook, I think that the Lakers' biggest problem was just that I don't think they could stop me and you. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you can go out there, you know what I'm saying, and do work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, the Lakers really had an issue defending. And like you said, I mean, unfortunately, in situations like that, the coach is going to take the fall, and Frank Vogel lost his job.
He was a fall
But
guy.
but blame, like you said, it was really spread around all over. You know what I'm saying? There's a number of fingers that you could point to in that situation, man. Blame really should have went all over. So,
I was gonna make
yeah,
one
man.
last. When you was done, I'm gonna make one last point. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll jump back. Go ahead.
Okay, just one last point about the Lakers. They remind me of a house that had potential. Like this house, you found a great location, great spot geographically. The blueprint looks really well, but then you hire this one contractor. He starts building the house a little bit. Then you hire another contractor. Then another contractor. And then another contractor. And it's just like, okay, it's like at some point, years down the line, you're like, well, this house had really good potential, but the vision is like blurred. Like, I don't know what kind of vibe are you giving me? And that's the Lakers. Like, I thought some of the assets that they had acquired had really good potential. But then you mix and mash so many players and parts on a yearly basis. It's like, I think the Heat culture, despite them not being as talented as Boston, their culture kept them in a series and forced it to go 7 games. Well, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Well, you look at a guy like Udonis Haslem. Udonis Haslem hasn't played consistent minutes since Lord knows when, since I don't know when. But you know why
since the first run with D Wade and them.
Right. But you know why Miami keeps him around? Because he's a voice. He's a voice of reasoning, and he's a culture setter. With the Lakers,
I was going to say he's an example of the culture that they want to have.
Guess who's the longest tenured Laker right now?
Who is it?
LeBron James.
LeBron James? Oh my God.
So there's no even with Darvin Ham, as much as I like him, there's no real culture, and they're gonna be hitting the reset button on their roster every year. But go ahead.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, long story short, man, do like the hire. I think it was the best hire for the Lakers, the best they could have done. With that being said, I mean, they still got a lot of work to do, a long journey ahead. I think next year, early outlook, I do think that they make the playoffs.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know if they go any further from there.
Yeah, me too.
But that being said, we're going to go ahead and switch it up and get into a little bit of football. But prior to doing that, since we're getting into some football, we got a little special guest that, I mean, he seems to have some impeccable timing. So I'm going to go ahead and get him in here, a real familiar face. Good old King Tiberius, man. Let's get him in here.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on with you, bro?
Man, I'm over here. It's my little birthday weekend, man. I just told myself I celebrate. So you see, I got the do-rag on. I got the semi-hoochie daddy shorts on,
Oh, hey, them things look extra medium now.
I didn't go full.
Yeah, you acting up now.
But I told myself I'd wear some short shorts. But nah, man. I've been watching you guys earlier, man. You saw it?
Hey, Zay, look, he got the taco meat out, boy. You better, y'all better watch out now. I better watch out.
Hey, look, I got the rosary beads on. They be like, hey. So first of all, they think I'm Dominican. I don't know if you look. I look Dominican. I have the waves, and so they be like, you are you Catholic? I'm like, yeah, Guadalupe.
Man.
So I'm over here celebrating.
The taco meat with the hoochie daddy shorts, boy. Somebody in trouble. And then the watch.
Come on now. Hey, look, go hard or go home, man. Little mini vacation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man.
But it's good. But it's good to be on. I told you I'd have to make a special appearance. Man, it's like there's a void left empty. Anytime I'm not on the show. So I told myself I gotta come on and chop it up with my guys, man. I see you guys were talking about Darvin Ham. That was an interesting hire to me. I guess they felt like maybe I think they looked at maybe what the Celtics did with Ime Udoka, and seeing him being with Pop all those years and saying, hey, we need a culture reset. So let's take Darvin Ham. I mean, granted, he's still similar to Ime Udoka. He's unproven at the head coach level, but maybe we can start over from scratch. And now the thing for me is while do I believe it can work? Yeah, sure it can work, but is LeBron gonna fully buy in to being a big part of a rebuild? Because they need a rebuild. They're not gonna contend for a championship next year. Let's go ahead and get that straight.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Even if AD is healthy, I don't think they contend.
They're not going to contend for a championship. Not in this Western Conference that's only getting younger and only getting better. So it was an interest. I was hoping they would maybe shoot if they wanted to win right away. I think the smart hire would have been Mark Jackson. But man, I guess that dude's just blacklisted. That they've made the gatekeepers of the NBA have made a conjoined decision about not let that man back in.
Yeah,
they have, man, and I think that also the brass up top, Jeannie Buss and Kurt Rambis, and now Phil Jackson has got his brain back into the fold.
Don't forget to mention Linda Rambis.
Oh, excuse me, Linda Rambis. You know what I'm saying? I think that they all have. They wanted someone that they all can kind of give input to and just kind of be in on the day-to-day process with. And with a new hire, they can kind of do so. And they knew that if they bring Mark Jackson in there, he's not going for that. He's going to, run that show his way, or it's going to be the highway. So, I mean, like I said, I don't dislike the hire. I think it was the best hire given the situation for them. So, I mean, I think we will definitely see what actually happens with this Laker team next year. But like I said, man, we're gonna go ahead and get into a little football. And Kenny, do we got you for a few minutes? And I'll let you jump in first. Actually, if we got you for a few minutes.
Yeah, you got me for a few minutes, about 10, 15, 20. Let's get it.
Okay, cool. So actually, you know what? I know you can I know you can help us out with this, man. So leading into, this here season, obviously it was a ton of off-season moves this season with a lot of the NFL teams. Obviously, we just had the draft last month or whatever, about a month or so ago. So real quick, man, I was just wondering, as far as quarterbacks go, who is the quarterback or maybe a couple quarterbacks who you think have the most pressure on them this upcoming season?
Okay. Well, one, I'm going to go ahead and start, with who's essentially the face of the NFL right now, and that's Patrick Mahomes. He's had Tyreek Hill for the better part of 5-6 years. And we knew this day was coming. This is when he puts his big boy pants on. I always knew there would come a day where certain weapons, certain guys will fall off. It could have been Travis Kelce could have very well been gone, but obviously Tyreek Hill was the first to go. So now Patrick Mahomes is in a position where some other elite quarterbacks have been, where they're losing their primary target. And Tyreek Hill is not a regular. I was talking about this not too long ago. Tyreek Hill is not a regular guy. He's arguably one of the, if not the best deep threat the NFL has ever seen. I say he's the fastest guy I've ever seen on the football field. So he adds such a different element to that offense, and he's made plays that other receivers just can't make because of his speed and tenacity. So I think that we're going to learn a lot about Patrick Mahomes this year because their offense is going to look different. They're not going to stretch the field as much as they used to. As much as I love Mecole Hardman, I have doubts about what Mecole Hardman can do putting in that Tyreek Hill role. We'll see. Maybe he shines and he proves me wrong, but I don't believe that Mecole Hardman is going to give you the same type of impact. So now it's going to look a little bit different. They're going to have to run the football a little bit more, which they haven't done. Right? They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. They still have yet to really give him the carries to let him become the back that we know he can be. We've seen him be at LSU.
I'm not sure he can be that back, but that's another story for the other day. I'm not really sold on him.
Well, I like him. I like his skill set. He just needs to. He's gonna need more volume. Granted, he's had times where he's banged up, but that Kansas City offense does him no favors. Like they're not running the ball at a high clip. It's almost like, you go to a team and they're like, okay, hey, I'm gonna give you 5 carries a game. you better make the most out of those 5 carries. And in
Right.
those 5 carries, you look like shit. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is more of a volume guy than we know. So he may just need more carries, but they're going to have to run the ball a lot better. They have the offensive line to do it, so hopefully they commit to that. And now, what you lose in speed, now you have a lot of guys who are more so short to intermediate weapons. I mean, granted, you drafted Valdez-Scantling, but we've seen the best of Valdez-Scantling. He's not. I mean, maybe he takes another jump under Andy Reid, but he's a big body, deep threat. But it's not like he has it's not like he has this otherworldly speed. He's like a 4.3, 4.4 guy. And then they drafted who I actually like for their offense. It just looks a little bit worse because they lost Tyreek Hill. I think Juju Smith was perfect for some of the things that they wanted to do from an intermediate level. He can play X, Y, slot, flanker. He can do everything.
He can do everything.
He can do everything.
Not necessarily the deep threat, though.
No, not at all. He's going to be the big body possession receiver that you needed, that you can move all around your formation. And I think he's still going to be that, but his impact may be a little bit smaller because nobody's there stretching the field. They drafted a kid out of Western Michigan named Sky Moore, who I'm very big on. I think he can come in the league and probably establish himself as one of the better slot weapons in the league. I think he kind of gives me Jarvis Landry vibes. Right. Sky Moore can be big for him. So once again, they're going to have to do a lot of things to make up for the loss of a Tyreek Hill. So Patrick Mahomes, this is when you see him. Okay, am I going to become? Is he really truly the elite quarterback that we've seen in years past, or was he a product of his system and the weapons that were around him?
Okay. So you kind of equate him. I was going to say, so you kind of equate his situation to kind of the situation that we're going to see Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, why he's really going to have to make receivers.
And I'm going to tell you this. I'm glad you brought him up because I was going to bring him up next.
Okay. I was going to do that.
Go ahead. I'll just say this before I pass it to you. The pressure's on him. Do I think that he'll stand tall? And I think he'll make the most of the situation? Yes. But will they be the same offense? No, they won't. They won't. And they drafted Christian Watson, who I like, out of North Dakota State. But Christian Watson, I think me and Isaiah talked about this. Yeah. Christian Watson isn't ready to come in and be your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver right now. He doesn't run a full route tree. He's athletic but very raw. So ideally, you would have wanted Christian Watson to be in a situation that Devontae Adams came into, where he had 2 guys ahead of him for 2 to 3 years. Exactly. But he's not going to get that. So they'll be effective, but their offense is going to, similar to Kansas City, they're going to have to run the football a lot more with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And they're going to have to do a little bit more dinking and dunking than they've done in years past.
I don't know if he stole your thunder, but go ahead, Zay.
No. It's a little bit of the same. I would say 2 quick things about the points you just made. First, with KC, after the trade happened with, I think that's interesting that you brought up Mahomes, because I'm looking at the division, I'm looking at how loaded and stacked the conference is. I would think with the trade, like obviously Kansas City don't get better, and you can't, like you said, you can't duplicate what Tyreek Hill's speed does to defenses. You can't duplicate that. I like McCole Harmon a lot. He ain't Tyreek Hill, but I think. With the moves Kansas City made, does it put them in position to win the Super Bowl or win the AFC this year? Probably not. They probably won't. But in years down the line, would it put them in better position to win a Super Bowl and to have further and future success? I think so. And I think Mahomes would be fine. I think there's some tooling and tweaking they have to do. But with Mahomes and Andy Reid and the offensive brilliance of Reid, I think they'd be fine. With Aaron Rodgers, let me get to him. Because I think people know I'm hard on Aaron.
As you should be.
I'm hard on him. I think it's completely unacceptable, and I know there's different factors and varies that goes into winning a Super Bowl and advancing to the Super Bowl. But I just find it completely unacceptable that he hasn't been back to the Super Bowl since 2010. That seems like ancient history.
I agree.
It just seems like ancient history. And we can name so many quarterbacks.
For a guy who's an all-time great, who some people consider the greatest.
4 MVPs. We keep giving him MVPs, and he has home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and he can't advance to the Super Bowl. It's
Hey,
going to be
hey, think about this, Isaiah. In the time that it's taken him to reach another Super Bowl, people have kids that are walking and talking now.
walking and talking.
People have kids
About to
that
go to
are
high
walking,
About to go to high
man,
school.
teenagers. In the
That's
time
a
that this
great-
man has made a Super
Hey,
Bowl.
look, wait. Just to bring it all home, my daughters are 12. They were born in 2010.
Wow.
Can't make that up. They were born since
And now they're
Aaron
12.
Rodgers won the Super Bowl.
And I'm gonna tell you this. That's why Colin Cowherd from the Herd said this, and I never forget it. He said Aaron Rodgers has become what he feared most. He's become Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. Mm-hmm.
That's literally, and I feel like with Aaron, $50 million on the books this year, and with all the other antics and stuff that comes with him, the baggage that comes with him,
Good
I
point
feel
here.
like there's so much pressure on him. I feel like Patrick has been twice already.
Good point.
He's been to the Super Bowl more times than Aaron has.
Yep.
I just feel like Aaron, he's just he's the most accomplished underachiever at the quarterback position that I think this league has ever seen. I just think that. I think with the talent that he has, with the talent that he's has had around him, I think he's massively underachieved. So I'm expecting. I'm not necessarily expecting like the numbers. Like I'm not expecting 45 touchdowns. I'm not in 50 and 5,000 passing yards. I'm not expecting that. But I'm expecting in a much weaker NFC than previous years. I'm expecting Aaron. The division hasn't changed much. I'm expecting Aaron to win about 10 games, be a playoff team, and have Green Bay in the thick of things. I know they're not the favorites. I know we have a couple of teams that we think are better, but we got to put the pressure on Aaron Rodgers at some point. We keep giving him MVPs, and some people call him the baddest man, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy that we talked about Mahomes and him losing Tyreek Hill.
Oh,
Guy, he's the NFL Steve Nash. Wow, okay.
But he does have a ring, though.
comparison.
That's a good comparison.
He does have a ring, but good comparison, good comp. But I think the guy that has Tyreek Hill now is under some pressure. Tua Tagovailoa. I think Tua, he's definitely one of the guys on my list where Tua, there was question marks about him coming out of Alabama because it's like, okay, he was a great Alabama quarterback. We've seen this. How many great Alabama quarterbacks have turned out to be pretty good pros? Can't really name them.
Joe Namath.
Broadway Joe.
Ken Stabler.
And that's it. And Ken Stabler. And that's it. And respectfully, those guys played in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you all you need to know. And that's no disrespect to them in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, no. But 80s and on, there's no great Alabama quarterback that has translated to the NFL. And with Tua, there's already has been questions about him being undersized,
his arm strength,
availability, and even his best attribute that I thought coming out of college, his accuracy. Even that's a little bit spotty at times. So there's a lot of pressure on Tua to make this thing work with Tyreek Hill. And he has a more offensive-minded coach. And just look at the other quarterbacks in this draft class, because remember, before Joe Burrow's last year at LSU, the consensus was Tua was the number one pick. That was the consensus. Remember, that was the consensus. Tua was the best quarterback coming out of that draft. And you look at, obviously, we've seen what Joe Burrow has done in Cincinnati. He's completely turned around the franchise. He made a Super Bowl appearance. And then Justin Herbert, he's like the modern day Andrew Luck, just with less turnovers. And I assume the Chargers are going to be pretty good this year. So it's a lot of pressure on Tua, not only to make this work with Tyreek Hill and all these weapons, Waddle, but also the respective guys that he's going to be lined up and compared against in his respective draft class. So it's just really interesting with Tua. I think that's something to really pay attention to.
Well, I'll give you, since we're talking about Alabama quarterbacks, I'll give you another Alabama quarterback that's under immense amount of pressure, and that's Jalen
Hold on,
Hurts.
hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me jump in there. Because I knew you were gonna say him. and that was my choice. Actually, my two guys were Tua Tagovailoa, and my other one was Jalen Hurts.
Wow.
Because I mean they went out there this year, you know what I'm saying? Let's give him credit where he was due, you know what I'm saying? He did go 8-7 last year. The team went 9-8. They did make the playoffs. He ended up with about 3,100 yards, 16 TDs, 9 picks, and he rushed for another 10 touchdowns, right? But now they went out there, they made this move for AJ Brown. Now you compare him, obviously. Now you pair him up with Devontae Smith. They still got Dallas Goedert. Miles Sanders should be back, and he should be healthy coming back. You know what I'm saying? Then obviously defensively they still got Graham. They
got dudes on defense.
My boy Big Play Slay. You know what I'm saying? They drafted Jordan Davis. They drafted Nakobe Dean. They got some names defensively. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry to say this, Kenny, but when you look at a team like Philly who went out there and made all of these moves to try to put to put Jalen Hurts into a position to be successful, and then you see the Dallas Cowboys who weren't as frugal in free agency, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, they lost their number one receiver. They lost a pretty solid offensive lineman in La'el Collins, you know what I'm saying? If you put a gun to my head, and don't forget Michael Gallup is probably going to miss, you know what I'm saying, some games.
3-4 games. He's going to be on short-term IR.
So all I'm saying is, you know, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably still pick Dallas to come out of that division, but that gap has gotten closer and closer and closer. You know what I'm saying? Especially like you said, those first 3 or 4 games with Gallup being out, that's gonna put a lot of pressure on CeeDee Lamb to really be that guy. It's gonna put a lot of pressure on those running backs, a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott to really come back and show that he's worth that money. You know what I'm saying? Which I think he is, but it's gonna put some pressure on him to show that he's worth that money. But I think for Jalen Hurts, I mean, I think it's put up or shut up for him now because barring injury, I really don't think there's any excuse for him. And then, like you said, with Tua, bro, I mean, there were already a ton of questions, you know, for him coming out of college. Although Brian Flores isn't there anymore, but he was never really Brian Flores' guy ever. You know what I'm saying? And then, even with that being said, we talking about a team who won. I believe they won 8 of their last 9 games last season. 8 of their last 9
Miami
games. Dolphins did.
Great defensively.
They're sound defensively. You know what I'm saying? They went out and got Chase Edmonds. First of all, they got the new coach, Mike McDaniels, who's coming out of that San Francisco 49ers system from under Kyle Shanahan. They brought in Raheem Mostert, who I think if he's healthy, I think he can be really, really, really good running the ball for them if he's healthy. Obviously, we mentioned they brought in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Cedric Wilson. You know what I'm saying? So don't look now, but Tua's got some weapons now. I think they still got Gesicki at tight end. Tua's got some weapons now. So it's really no excuse for him. Like you said, even his strength coming out, which we thought was his accuracy, now coming into the league, you got to kind of question that now.
It's spotty.
And then I think the dynamic with him and Tyreek Hill is going to be really interesting because I mean Tyreek is not that he hasn't improved in the intermediate level because he has improved by leaps and bounds, but I think he's still a deep threat. So I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see if Tua really has that arm strength and that ability to really get him that ball down the field. Because I don't know, for me, I think you'll see a lot of times where Tyreek might just outrun the ball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, but crazy enough, you guys mentioned them. Those are my 2 guys, Jalen Hurts and Tua.
I'll give you guys one more, and this may come as a surprise. Okay. I think if Russell Wilson and the Broncos make anything less than a divisional round, it's a mortal sin because he's coming into a very well-rounded situation with weapons at wide receivers. He has running backs. He has a solid offensive line. He's better than what he had in Seattle. He has an elite defense that's only gotten better, only added talent, and only added players. Excuse me. So there should be no reason why the Broncos, if Russell Wilson is this, I'm high on Russell Wilson. I've always loved him.
Yeah.
But if he's this guy that we've always thought he was, he should take a team that won 7 games last year. He should help them improve at least about 4 games. I think at least 3 to 4 games.
At least 3 to 4 games.
That division is a gauntlet.
Still,
that division is by far the best division in the NFL.
I would make the argument he has the best.
Go ahead, Zay.
But he has the. Go ahead.
No. I was going to just say I would make the argument overall. He probably has the best roster
in the league. Arguably,
the Broncos.
At least in this division.
I think arguably in the league, he has the most complete team. And watch this. Let's say Jerry Jeudy doesn't get in trouble.
All those teams are. I think the Chargers are loaded. If we're talking about rosters, the Chargers are loaded.
So if we look at where this is what we can't dismiss. The Broncos were the number 3 ranked defense in the fucking league last year.
They were.
They've only added, mind you, they added Randy Gregory. They added a few players. They still have impact players. They still got Patrick Surtain Jr. They still got Kareem Jackson and Simmons at safety acting a damn fool. They've only gotten better. And then on offense, you return which was quietly one of the better running back duos in the league, and Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I mean, okay, maybe that you gotta, that maybe they have some weakness at tight end because they traded Noah Fant. Yeah, Noah Fant. Yeah, they traded Noah Fant, the Iowa kid. But I mean, they still got Jerry Jeudy. They still got Courtland Sutton. They still got Patrick, like
KJ Hamler.
Like, I mean, this is a really complete team. And if they won 7 games with Teddy Bridgewater, there should be no reason why they shouldn't win 10 or 11 with Russell Wilson, who's a much better player. So that's why I look at their roster. I'm like, man, there's so much pressure on this guy because he has to perform. He has a contending roster right now. Somebody said this, and I forget who said this, but their roster, Denver, is essentially Tampa Bay before Tom Brady got there.
That's what I said.
That was you.
I said that when we talked about like the schedules. I basically did a comparison. I was like, you look at how Tampa Bay was structured before Tom got there. They were a 7-win team, just like Tampa Bay. I mean, just like Denver.
Talented,
young talent, really flashy players on defense, and then they had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, some really equipped elite weapons on offense. The reason why they won 7 games that year and they didn't win more is because Jameis had the 30.
Jameis went 30 for 30.
He went 30 for 30. In the words of Jameis, he was balling, but also he also gave up the ball too much. And basically, all Tom did was literally cut those turnovers in half. And they were obviously we know like the rest is history. They make it to the playoffs and they win the Super Bowl. With the Broncos, I told Kenny this a couple weeks ago. The Broncos 7-win team, great flashy players on defense. They got elite. I'm not gonna say elite, but they got really good quality players on the perimeter with a decent running game. And you think about it. I told this is why I think the Broncos are going to get off to a pretty good start. Denver at home never loses at home in September. So even with I think Denver, even with all the new parts and pieces that they're adding, I think they're going to be really good week 1 because they're hard to beat at home when they're mediocre. They're hard to beat at home. They look unbeatable at home when they're mediocre in September. So imagine with an improved roster, I see no reason why they can't get off to a pretty decent start like they did last year.
I just think that division is just gonna be so tough, Great. I'll say this. Crazy to say this. The team who's probably been the favorite in that division, the Kansas City Chiefs, if you look at these teams' rosters, they might have the worst roster in the division.
That division. That's the guy.
And that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I mentioned the Chargers. I mean, they brought Mike Williams back. They still got Keenan Allen. Yep. I love Austin Eckler. I'm sorry. I love Austin Eckler. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we know what Justin Herbert can do. Then they went out there and got Khalil Mack to put opposite of Bosa.
And J.C. Jackson.
And J.C. Jackson. hopefully Derwin James can stay healthy this season. And I mean, what do you know? Because their biggest problem was I think they were
Stopping the
dead
run.
last against the run last year.
They were terrible against the run.
Yep.
But I mean,
they were atrocious against the run.
And then obviously, you know what I'm saying, Oakland was already solid, and then they bring in Devontae Adams, what I think Derek Carr needed, a true number one. Now they can really slide over and take some pressure off of, I call him Mr. Route Tree and Hunter Renfro. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Route Tree. But you can take some pressure off of him. I mean, you can really make an argument that just looking at their rosters, Kansas City might have the worst roster of the three teams there. But because they have Patrick Mahomes, you know,
and Andy Reid.
And Andy Reid, excuse me, and Andy Reid.
Best coach.
I mean, exactly. You know what I'm saying? They're still going to be a viable option there.
Yeah.
But it's crazy you mentioned that, though. I think I didn't even think about, you know, Patrick Mahomes in that perspective. So I guess there is a lot of pressure on him. But you know what?
I want to mention one guy too. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
And with his availability could vary, but Deshaun Watson, I think now we don't know. Like my gut is telling me he's probably gonna be suspended 8 to 10 games. It wouldn't surprise me if he got suspended the whole year. But whenever he decides to play football, whenever they let him play football, I think a lot of pressure is gonna be on Deshaun Watson because this Cleveland roster isn't bad. It's like me and Kenneth, we talked about it coming into last season. We thought that they had a top 5 roster in football. So the mere fact
last year, yeah, absolutely.
They had we went into the thought process that they had a top 5 roster in football last year. So it's not necessarily the same roster, but a lot of things haven't changed. Great offensive line, still a really good run scheme. They got some developing pieces on defense. They got Myles Garrett as one of the best pass rushers in football. And then Deshaun Watson, I'm still under the belief that he is a top 10 quarterback. And on some days, he look elite. So with that $230 million deal, which is the richest deal in NFL history, I think a lot of pressure is going to be put on Deshaun Watson whenever he is allowed to play football. Like I said, he's probably going to get suspended. But when that time comes, when it's time for him to suit up and play, I think some pressure is going to be put on him just based off the contract that he got and him forcing his way out of Houston.
And I'll say this, because I got to go, fellas. I ain't going to lie. I'm about to go to dinner. But
okay,
the pressure is on Deshaun Watson, and I have to tell people that let's say he doesn't get suspended, or let's say he gets suspended 4 games. 4 games, yeah. Let's temper our expectations for a guy that hasn't played football in a year at the quarterback position, which is the most difficult in sports, and a guy that has shown that he's not a savior. Like, he's a great quarterback, but, I mean, his last season started, he went 4-12. So it's not like he fixes all problems. Deshaun Watson, he's a great quarterback.
He led the league in passing that year, though.
He did, but they went 4-12. So it was cute. Right. It was attractive. It was sexy, but you still lost a plethora of games. So that means that you weren't enough. Unrealistic expectations that he's going to come to Cleveland and just lead them to the Super Bowl. In a division where he might have the 3rd best team, and in a conference where, I mean, let's be honest, Cleveland might not even be a top 10 team.
Right.
Yeah. True that. Yeah. True that.
So let's let them grow. Let's let them figure it out. I like what they're building. You've seen Deshaun Watson. They say he just flew about 30 of his offensive guys to the Bahamas, I want to say, and
he seems to be trying to. He's making all the efforts to build a rapport and get that chemistry.
He's coming correct. He's doing it the right way. So I'm excited for what they build. They have a lot of good young foundational pieces. I'll be honest, I'm surprised by the David Ngakoue signing.
Contract,
Me too.
I mean,
me too.
Hey, but you know what? And I have to throw this in before I leave. If he got that contract, if I'm Dalton Schultz, I'm sitting back and I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I know I'm about to get 15, 16. Because if David Ngakoue got that and I'm eon better than him, I'm going to get more money.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, the best ability is availability.
It's the Christian Kirk. It's the Christian Kirk deal.
It's the Christian Kirk deal.
And
that's what happens with Market. I can say this for my Cowboys. they always let inferior players get paid before they pay their players, and it always hurts them in the long run. So now you're going to have to pay a Dalton Schultz more money. But another story for another day. David Ngakoue got the big contract. Cleveland got a lot of young talent. Denzel Ward is the highest paid corner in NFL history, I think now. So a lot of interesting things going on. So I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, those were my picks for quarterbacks under the most pressure. I'm sure we'll see a lot of things unfold as the offseason continues. We're in OTAs. I don't know if you guys talked about Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. They missed OTA, so that was another interesting turn of events. But yeah, guys, it's gonna be interesting. I gotta go eat. But I
ain't gonna hold you up, man.
Yeah.
No. You
definitely appreciate you jumping in, though, bro.
Sure.
You ain't have to do it, but you did, man. So we appreciate it.
Man, come on, look, vacation, non-vacation. Look, man, dude. It could be my funeral. I'm gonna find a way to hop on the show. But I love the show, man. You know, this is our baby. This is what we're building, man. So I'm excited to be able to hop on and talk sports with you guys, man. But you guys have a good night,
man. And I can't wait for me and you to link back up next week, man, because it's been long enough, man.
It's been long.
It's so much going on with that. Hey, look,
it's been long.
Hey, I told Isaiah, man, he on here so much, we're gonna have to go and get him a nickname.
Man, dude, it's getting ridiculous, man. I'm like,
for real, we're gonna have to go and get him a nickname for real, man. Put him on the ending credits or something, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, he's a key contributor, key part of the Rooted in Sports family. Speaking of which, make sure you guys follow that. I'm gonna keep shouting out. Make sure you guys follow the Isaiah Kit podcast. Listen to it. Great content, man. Like he's come. Let's be honest. He's coming on here and he's blessing us, and he's helping us with his presence. He's filling in when one of us are gone, and we got other endeavors and things of that nature. But this guy is a testimony of the character that this guy is, Isaiah Kit, and he has his own phenomenal podcast. And yeah, I just love and appreciate the guy, man. So
thank you,
man. Thanks for being you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, bro. Go ahead and get to dinner, man, and I'll catch you next week. I'm gonna talk to you, but we'll be back on next week, bro. Much love,
next
bro.
week, guys. All right, let y'all.
All right. Man, I'm really glad he hopped on, bro. For real, man. He out there, bro. He got the taco meat out. He got the I'll do some shorts that's above the knees a little bit, but they can't be too tight on me now. You know what I'm saying? All that got to breathe. You know
sure.
To the knees, but they gonna be back. You know what I'm saying? My hoochie shorts gonna be back. You feel me?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel.
But man, I'm just glad he went on and hopped on and everything, man. But real quick, I wanted to kind of you guys mentioned the Cleveland Browns. So I think that first of all, I do think that Deshaun Watson is gonna miss 6 to 8 games. You know, I just feel like because I just feel like for the situation, I feel like that's kind of that's like the starting point. That's kind of like the protocol. So for that reason, I didn't think that it would be that much pressure on him. I think for the Cleveland Browns, the bigger issue at hand is, and I know this will probably be our last topic before we get up out of here. But I think that the bigger issue at hand is what are they going to do with Baker Mayfield? And seeing how, I think it's fair to say, obviously, Deshaun is going to, miss some time.
Yeah.
Or would they consider keeping Baker Mayfield? And if they don't, they do have Jacoby Brissett now, who I like. I've always, really serviceable guy, a career backup, but a really serviceable guy. You know what I'm saying? He is. I just think that either between the cloud over the team because of Deshaun Watson's suspension and all that still going on, or the cloud over the team because of them possibly holding on to Baker Mayfield because they can't get a solid deal for him, or B because they know that Deshaun Watson is gonna miss time. I think for that reason, you might see the team, they missed the playoffs last year, but you might see the team with a similar record, and thus I don't know if there'll be as much pressure on Deshaun Watson because of it.
For sure. I think it's a good point. I think in terms of the Deshaun Watson situation, real quick,
Mhm.
it's a situation that it's like a court of public opinion, and
It is, man.
like looking at the details, like the details that we all know, like the 22 victims, the 22 women. Like I say this: one person may lie on you, two people might lie on you, 22 people ain't gonna lie on you. So like whatever, and I wouldn't even say sexual assault, maybe sexual harassment, whatever it is. There seems to be some remnants of truth. Now,
if nothing else, he was reckless. He was a little reckless, you know.
he was
And
a
I
little
hate,
reckless.
I truly,
Me too.
truly hate this. You know, for a black man, I
Me too.
really, really hate this. You know, but I gotta call a spade a spade. Like,
Yeah,
if nothing else, he was a little bit reckless.
he was a little reckless with his decision making, and I know the NFL with the optics and with how we the world we live in, society and societal norms now. It's very, and it's like if we're being honest, like if we're keeping track of a scoreboard, and if you were to ask Deshaun Watson and his team, like throughout this process, like, do you think you guys are winning? They'd probably say, yeah, we're winning, because he wasn't criminally charged. He got what he got out of Houston. He's still getting paid despite he didn't play. And on top of that, he got a $230 million deal from Cleveland, his new team. So like he's winning. And with this whole lawsuit, this whole civil case, he can really, like, he has enough resources to really drag this thing out. And at some point, like, if you want me to be honest, I think he'd drag it out as long as possible. The victims would be like, okay, life is going on, life is continuing. The settlement, I think, it's going to get settled with some money. And in terms of the NFL, with Deshaun, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they suspended him for a whole year, because, but it's so funny. It's so many details, because minute details, because Cleveland, I don't know if you know, but Cleveland, the way they have his contract set up, the first year, the salary cap number is low. And it's in case if he gets suspended for the whole year,
I did see that.
His number is low, and the big money don't really start to come in until
next year.
Right. Which is,
I did notice that.
So that's that. In terms of Baker, this is my analogy for Baker that I used on my podcast a couple weeks back. Baker, in this sense, is an exotic car. You know, if you can't just openly splurge and buy yourself an exotic car, and I'm talking like the Ferraris, the Rolls Royce, if you can't just openly splurge and buy yourself that car, you know the one dilemma that comes up with the car, with trying to purchase a car like that?
What's that?
It's like, okay, it's not an everyday car. It's a car that you drive out on a nice 70-degree Saturday, and you know it's a weekend thing. It's not an everyday car that you put to use every day. So in this sense, it's too expensive to just sit in the garage for 5 days a week, but it's then too expensive just to have at luxury. And that's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, his price tag right now for his play and his value, it's $19 million. And that's too expensive for a regular backup, but you can't use him. Teams can't use him as a starter. So in that sense, he's an exotic car where his value is kind of in the air, because you can't use him as a starter. Teams can't use him as a starter, and he's too expensive as a backup. So I just think with Cleveland, could they keep him and just pay him the $19 million straight out, like they probably will? Yeah, just in case Deshaun gets suspended for a lengthy amount of time. We'll say 8 to 10 games. Yeah, you keep him. But in terms of Baker and the other market and him exploring different teams, it may have to come with him being cut and then him taking a cheaper deal so he can be a backup somewhere, because no team is going to no team is going to trade for Baker with that contract and that salary figure, and he's going to be someone's backup. Like, he can't be a starter, but he's not going to be someone's backup for that figure.
Real quick, Dre. I want to say to this comment here, I do agree with you because I think that there is a real problem kind of brewing, and I think not just with the youth coming into the NFL, but youth in the
I think he's a little stuck. I think Ira's a little stuck right now. Hopefully he should be back soon. I know we're live right now, but he seems to be a little stuck in the matrix. Hopefully he comes back. I don't understand why the league and agents don't talk to these guys about women, the situation. Yeah. And I was going to say, in terms of the situations, speaking to that point with that Andre made, it's so bad. And in terms of Deshaun Watson and his own situation, like before this whole thing happened with Deshaun Watson, like his reputation around the league was he's a good guy, good high character guy. At Clemson, he was a high character guy and he was a leader. But then at some point, there has to be some type of behavior, because this is a trend. There was 22 women, and on top of the 22 women that are victims, right? That claimed that they were sexually harassed or assaulted by Deshaun Watson. He had 20 other women come to his defense. So in the span of about 2 years, he's had 40 plus masseuses. He's had 40 plus masseuses. So it's just an outrageous, and it seems like this has to be some type of behavior. But the players and their agents and their representation, I think they have to do a better job at setting a precedent in terms of trying to get these guys to understand the risk and how much just attention this draws. And I think with Deshaun Watson, his like I said, his situation is really peculiar because we did not see this coming, and these allegations didn't come out until he requested a trade out of Houston. So it was just abrupt that it happened. But I think in terms of these other players, there has to be there. You're right, Andre. You're totally right. You hit it. I think you're right about agents and their representation have to tell these guys they got to put themselves in better predicaments to avoid situations such as this. And like I said, as you know, with Deshaun Watson, with society the way it is, and with us having so many new societal norms, it gives bad optics to the NFL and their team, that whoever they play with. It's just bad optics and bad PR. And the NFL is supposed to be like this shield. So the mere fact that players, there seems to be a trend with especially with younger guys, where they get into these situations with female colleagues or females, and it's just crazy and reckless at the same. It's just crazy and reckless. Hello?
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, that was Ira. So he's trying to get back in. Just weird timing. But I'm looking for something that Warren Sapp said, that Tony Dungy always preach about guys and on the field issues or off the field issues. I'm gonna see if I can try to find it. Boy, I wish I can find this thing. Ira's gonna be coming back soon. We're gonna try to get him back in here soon. But it is so Tony Dungy, in terms of players being, getting themselves in these type of trouble in these type of situations. Warren Sapp, I remember him doing an interview, and when he was being coached by Tony Dungy talked about, he gave his team 5 reasons, which is valid, as to why athletes get into these type of scandals. The first reason is out past 12. The second reason is doing 15 plus on the speed limit. So going past the speed limit. The third issue is drugs and guns or guns. The fourth one is alcohol. And then the last one is women you know too well or not well enough. And I think that is you that I think that kind of that gives you the grand scheme of things of how and why these guys get into the scandals that they get into. I think those are 5 excellent reasons as to why athletes usually find themselves in these scandals. Out doing past the wee hours in the morning, guns or drugs, speed limit going crazy. You're going crazy over the speed limit. Alcohol is somewhat sometimes within the situation, and then women. Like, these guys are famous. These guys got a lot of money. They got a lot of fame, a lot of popularity. So women you know too well, or women you don't know well enough. And I think those are 5. And I'm gonna keep those. You guys should keep that. But like those, like you look at usually most other player scandals usually include one of those 5 things, or sometimes all 5 things. And that's what you have with a situation like Deshaun Watson. Not really, he's not, women, being in the situation. But that is what we have. So hopefully, like I said, I'm just doing this on the fly. Hopefully Ira is available to come back as soon as possible. But that is what we have. The situations, they got to put themselves, it's very ridiculous. And you think about some of the situations that these guys get themselves into, and they've risked so much money. They risk so much money when they do this. I don't understand it. I think you look at the risk. You're talking about reputation. Your character is usually at question. And then you look at the amount of money that these guys risk and sometimes lose. It's incredible. And as Ira pointed it out and called it out, it's kind of hard for me to ignore it, or for us to ignore it. But sometimes it's black men. And black men already kind of got they do. Black men already have a stigma and this pre-existing, and not all black men, obviously, but there is throughout society, there's just pre-existing stigma that black men, that people think black men have. So all on top of that, then it comes back to, okay, your identity. Your basic level of identity, and you being an African American man doesn't really give you the best optics. On top of having notoriety, on top of having fame, on top of having and making a boatload of money. And usually these players are faces of multi-billion-dollar companies. They're faces of multi-billion-dollar companies. It's sad sometimes. Like I said, the Deshaun Watson thing, it caught me by surprise because, like I said, high character guy from college all the way through his years in the pro. You never heard anything bad about him. I know he has different foundations that he has and that he runs. I know I'm of knowledge of all of that stuff. But like I said, one person, may lie on you. Two people may even lie on you. But 22 people, like somewhere in between, there is some remnants of truth. At some point, as somewhere in between, there is some remnants of truth that's going on, and and with 22 people, there seems to be some type of trend. I'm good with trends and noticing different patterns and skin. Like there seems to be some type of trend that is brewing here. So that's that. And with Baker, like I said, with Baker, I talked about this in my podcast. And if you're a regular listener to my podcast, and even me and Kenneth, we go back and forth about Baker because I'm not really high on Baker. But Baker, the price tag as of right now at $18 million is not good enough. The price tag is just high. It's too high. Like I said, I compared them to in a sense, he's an exotic sports car. I already did the comparison. But that's what he is. And he's getting paid too much to be someone's backup. And there's really no starting job that's available for him to take over. So Cleveland's then left with the options of just swallowing that contract, that 5th-year option, or they just cut him and he gets a cheaper deal somewhere else to be someone's backup. But that's the thing with Baker. I know we also wanted to get into OBJ. And I say this about Odell. I think the move that he made to LA with Sean McVay and the Rams, before he played the game for the Rams, I thought it would work. I thought OBJ going to the Rams, going to LA with Sean McVay and what those guys had brewing, I thought it would work. McVay is an offensive mastermind genius. I think he's one of the best young coaches in football and probably the best young coach in football after this most recent Super Bowl win, with him being like at the peak precipice of already having that title. He's made the margin, if there was a margin, he's made it wider. So I thought it would work with OBJ. OBJ was back healthy. This is the first time he really looked healthy in a couple of years. I think he had 8 touchdowns in 8 games, 8 regular season games for the Rams. So he was really productive as a 2 or 3. Some days he would be a 2. A lot of attention would be paid to Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was amazing this year. And Odell fit right into that Rams culture. And Odell himself, I have to give it to him. And I talked about this earlier in the year, but I just have loved the development and the maturity the maturation process and the maturity that has happened with Odell. But he still gives me LA vibes. And I always thought his career would not end in Cleveland. Odell is a guy that needs and wants a big market. I think he wants a big market. LA was a big market. And Odell just feels like he felt like New York. I thought he fit well in terms of culturally and his personality. I thought he fit well in New York, and I thought he fit well in LA. So in terms of free agent destinations for Odell, now obviously he had a heartbreaking for me, because I thought he was gonna have a great game in the Super Bowl after catching that touchdown. He tore his ACL again, and I'm thinking a team is definitely gonna give him a shot because he played well. He played so well down the stretch, and even going into the postseason, he played really well. So I think a team is definitely gonna give him another opportunity. For me, honestly, my personal opinion, because I'm huge on Odell, I would like him to stay in LA. I think he fits the culture. I thought he really found the home there that, in terms of the scheme and what they do and the options that and the situations that McVay was able to put Odell in. I thought it was crucial. I thought it was crucial and it made a lot of sense. So yeah, I think him staying in LA would probably be my first option. I think New Orleans. I heard some talk of the Saints, because he's from New Orleans. Jarvis Landry, his best friend, most recently signed with New Orleans. So New Orleans is probably definitely high on his list. But it's hard for me to imagine Odell not playing for a team that's like contending a little bit, at least a playoff caliber team. So that's what I think on Odell. I'm just trying to keep it flowing because I know Ira I know he's trying his hardest and his best to get back on. But we had a pretty good show. I know we've hit the 2-hour mark, but we had a pretty good show. I appreciate them continuing to bring me back on. I have no problem with it. Like you guys have always heard from me, I have my own podcast. On every platform that I record. I try to record and upload 2 episodes a week, but that's I usually do that. But if not, I usually upload at least 1 episode a week. So you can assure that for me. But you guys can check out my podcast, the Isaiah Kid Podcast, on every platform. On every platform, any platform you use to listen to like your music or you use to listen to any other podcast, you can search in my podcast. It'll pop up right there. So I'll greatly appreciate that if you guys did that. So yeah, the Isaiah Kid Podcast. Like I said, I'm the host of the Isaiah Kid Podcast. July would make it my 3rd year of having this podcast. So that's huge for me. But you guys can definitely go check that out. Once again, I'm gonna see what's going on with Ira, because like I said, I know we're past the 2-hour mark and the live is still kind of running. So we'll see if I'm gonna try to get him back on here as soon as possible. We can see. Yeah. So we had a pretty good episode. I thought we had a pretty good show today or tonight.
Man.
Okay, he's back. Okay. Yeah. So I kind of freestyle a little bit. Not too bad, but I'm glad you're back. You was able to make it back on.
Man. Boy, I tell you, boy, the devil know he be busy, boy.
Yeah.
Devil know he be busy, boy. Sorry, guys, little technical difficulties, but once again, Zay the real MVP here. Man, let me see. We have one more topic. I guess if you want to, we can hit it real quick and get up out of here, bro.
What was the topic?
Just a couple NFL free agents, or one not so much a free agent, but I just have 3 guys. Just what's the best landing spot for him, real quick.
I already talked about OBJ a little bit.
Okay, that's all good. That's all good. What did you think? What did you have him going?
So I thought before OBJ before he played the game for the Rams, I thought he would be a good fit for the Rams. And I thought and once he signed with the Rams, I said it would work. And it did work. But the Rams, I thought the Rams are still I think it's still the best option for Odell. Now, I mentioned also New Orleans. New Orleans he's from Louisiana. Jarvis Landry just recently signed there. I definitely think New Orleans is definitely a viable option. I also think a team like I didn't mention it but when you were gone, but now that I'm thinking about a team like New England. I think a team like the Patriots, where they lack a little bit of offensive
What
fire.
do you think? So real quick, that dynamic with him and Bill Belichick. Do you think that would work?
I was just talking about that, and I gave because I'm huge on Odell. I would consider myself an Odell fan. I root for him.
So would I.
So with Odell, I talked about it a little bit, but I like the mere fact that his maturation process, and I see development and maturity. He's not the same kid that he was in New York. And even in Cleveland, I thought he tried to make it work. I really did.
I agree.
He still had the antics here and there with the watch, but I thought for the most part he was a really good Samaritan in Cleveland. And the whole Baker thing, I think Baker's ego was a bit too much.
Right.
And I just never thought it would work out. But I always felt Odell was bigger than Cleveland, and I always thought he fit the New York market. He fit the LA market. So he got to LA and he flourished because ultimately he had a really good quarterback. He had a better quarterback. Simple as that.
Crazy enough, that was the team I had too. I think he should go right back to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, okay, he's 29. He's coming off of an ACL injury. This is the second ACL injury to that knee. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's not going to get a huge payday for one.
Yeah.
Two, he's going to miss some time this season.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
he heard it in February.
Exactly. And three, I don't think the OBJ that we've seen in years past, I'm not sure if he'll be that guy. Now, I still think he has a couple 1,000-yard seasons left in him if he can stay healthy. But the OBJ, as we know him, I don't think he'll be that guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if he goes back to the Rams, he already knows the system, already knows the situation. This is a system that as the season went on, we see him get more and more comfortable in, start to be more and more productive in, especially in the playoffs. I still think if he hadn't tore his ACL, I think he would have been a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah,
because he came out in that first quarter like gangbusters, and I think he scored the initial touchdown.
He did the opening touchdown.
And then he go back there. There's no pressure on him. The crew's back. Still got Cooper Kupp. They signed Allen Robinson. So now, if he goes back there, whenever he comes back, there's no pressure. He can take his time, and whenever he comes back, there's no pressure on him to really be that guy. Real quick, I wanted to mention another big name, free agent, Julio Jones. Now, for me, I think the perfect situation for Julio Jones is the Indianapolis Colts. He gets to reunite with his boy Matt Ryan. You know what I'm saying? And then he can go there. They got Michael Pittman. What's up? They got Paris Campbell. They just drafted Alec Pierce in the draft, who I really like out of Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they got Jonathan Taylor. They're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to run the ball. But I think he can really be a really good fit and really pay dividends for some of those young receivers there. And I think I told Kenny this when we were kind of going through our divisions pre-draft. Mm-hmm. I told Kenny this. I said, obviously the AFC is loaded, but if I had a deep sleeper team, that Indianapolis Colts team would be it. You know what I'm saying? With the addition of Matt Ryan, I think that if nothing else, I mean, he'll be far more consistent than Carson Wentz was. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's going to, tote the ball a lot. If they can add Julio Jones, that's just yet another weapon for them. And then defensively, I mean, they got names at every level. I think Kwity Paye is going to have a breakout season. Obviously, Darius Leonard. I think you'd have to say he's the best best linebacker in the league right now. Like you said, DeForest Buckner. Then they signed Stephon Gilmore.
Yep.
So I mean, a sleeper, man. Nobody's talking about him. But this is a sleeper, and I think if you can add Julio Jones to that mix, I think you got something.
Well, honestly, when we thinking about Julio Jones, I did not think about Indianapolis, and I say this about Indianapolis that I always say about Indianapolis. I've been saying this about Indianapolis for the past 2 years now. I feel like on my podcast, and it's Indianapolis. They have done. Chris Ballard has done such a great job with building this roster, as you mentioned. For the last couple of years, they've had one of the most dominant offensive lines. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor has turned into a superstar in this league.
He has. He definitely
I like them. I like the kid, Michael Pittman. I thought that was a great draft pick that they made a couple years back. And then defensively,
USC, right?
USC.
Pittman, USC, yeah.
Yep, USC guy. They have a thing for these big receivers.
Right.
Drake London this past year. But
right.
And defensively, you make a great point. I thought there's such an underrated squad to me. I just wished, because Andrew Luck is one of my favorite quarterbacks. Andrew Luck was taking, and no disrespect, but he was taking trash to the postseason, and it took them as far as the AFC Championship game. If you were to place Andrew Luck on this squad right now, I mean,
they talk about them the same way they talk about any other AFC contender.
We'll be talking about them in the same.
And I think that they're going to win the AFC South this year. With or without Julio.
Oh, okay. I like that, because I think Tennessee is going to take a step back too.
I do too. I think they're going to take a step back.
We'll see. But Julio, that's a great option. I mean, I honestly can't think of another option or a better option than in Indianapolis. Now, I was thinking maybe San Francisco, because Kyle Shanahan did have him in Atlanta.
Ooh, that'll be sneaky.
But I think Indianapolis, you make a great point with Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan will be I think for a very long time, this might be the best offensive line and running game that Matt Ryan has had in a very, very long time. So you match that in with Matt Ryan being, I think Matt Ryan can still play. He wasn't the problem in Atlanta. He wasn't the problem. He was not the problem in Atlanta. So it's not he won't be Carson Wentz. I tell you that. He won't be Carson Wentz. So the Julio Jones to Indianapolis, I can't even be mad at.
Word. And then I don't know. He's not necessarily a free agent, but I think it's pretty fair to say he's gonna leave. I don't know if you talked about Baker Mayfield as far as landing spots for him. But for me, I think the best situation or the best possible landing spot for him would probably be Carolina. For me, if they can get Christian McCaffrey back healthy, and then they still have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore there. You know what I'm saying? They got a few guys there. Obviously right now they have Sam Darnold, and then they drafted Matt Corral in the 3rd round out of Ole Miss. But I think if he goes there, he's the opening day starter. It's his job to lose. You know what I'm saying? If they can figure out a move to get him there, I think that's probably the best place for him to go and be successful. Because Baker, you look at him last year, statistically it was probably his worst year ever.
Yes.
He was just over 3,000 yards, 17 TDs, 13 picks. He played in 14 games, and they were 6-8 in the games he played, the games he started. So, it was probably his worst, statistical year for whatever reason. Now, do I think, speaking of Baker Mayfield, do I think he's a top 10 quarterback, or do I think he's just a franchise player, a life changer? No. But do I think in the right situation he can be very successful and lead you to the playoffs and possibly win a playoff game or two? Yes, I do. And I think for him personally, I think that situation in Carolina will be a lot better than probably the other team that he's been rumored to, which is possibly Seattle. And even though Seattle has a few weapons, especially at wide receiver, I think defensively Seattle still has a lot of work to be done, especially letting Bobby Wagner go. They're a total rebuild on the defensive side. Meanwhile, Carolina quietly had one of the best defenses in the league last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I think that would be the ideal landing spot for him if he does go.
Okay. With Baker, I kind of agree. I think with Baker, this is definitely some humble pie he gonna be eating.
Absolutely.
I think the way how he plays and his mantra and his demeanor, boy, he's not a top 10 quarterback, but his demeanor says top 10 quarterback. But he's not. He's not that. You're right. I think me and Kenny last football season, we had this argument, and I was like, I don't really think you win. I don't really think you can win with a guy like Baker Mayfield. I think even
not the big game, not the Super Bowl. I don't think.
Yeah, not the big, and I don't think he's gonna take you there. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's like, I don't even think he's of that same cloth with Garoppolo. Where Garoppolo has gone deep into the playoffs. With Baker, I think you look at his average wins, you look at his wins per every year of his career. It's been 6 wins, 11 wins, 6 wins.
11 wins,
anomaly.
6 wins. Yep.
The norm is 6 wins. The anomaly is 11 wins. And I'm not saying that year he had was an anomaly per se, but he like his overall just body of work, it says that he's not a top half quarterback in this league. Now, I think a team like Carolina makes a lot of sense. With Christian McCaffrey, I have this thing about signing running backs to long-term deals, but Christian McCaffrey was never hurt. He was never injured at Stafford his first few years in the NFL. Now his ankle every week look like a Popeye's chicken breast. So it's just crazy. So I think if those guys can stay healthy around him in Carolina, I don't think that's necessarily a bad landing spot.
I agree, man. I agree. So I guess we'll definitely see what happens, man. But man, I just want to say I appreciate you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? Once again, the real MVP. Sorry about that little hiccup there.
You're good.
But hey, we pushed through. We got it done. And for everybody out there, man, yet another episode of the Rooted in Sports Podcast. My bad. Go ahead and shout out your podcast or anything else you got going on, bro. Go ahead and plug yourself, bro.
Yeah, so like you said, I was trying to just take up time when you had your little connection thing. I was just trying to take up time, and I already kind of plugged myself in, but I do it again. Since you're giving me the opportunity, like I said, I'm not the co-host. I'm the only host. I'm the host of the Isaiah Kid podcast. It's available on every podcast platform. Any podcast, any platform or streaming service that you use to listen to a regular podcast or whatever podcast you listen to right now, you can find mine on there. It's called the Isaiah Kid Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, it doesn't matter. So you guys can go check that out. That's me. That's it.
And for anybody that need any help, as you can see, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
it is right there, Isaiah Kid. So definitely look him up, man. Really, really intelligent brother. Really, really fluid when it comes to the sports and everything. Just an all-out great dude. Great takes, great insight. So y'all go ahead and make sure that y'all tune into that podcast. Every Saturday we got the Rooted in Sports community on Twitter Spaces. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Next Monday, me and old King Tiberius will be right back here. Same bat time, same bat place, same bat station. You know what I'm saying? And we going to go ahead and jump into it. I know the NBA Finals will be going on by then, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about involving those games and everything. So, yeah, we just appreciate everybody for tuning in. We love y'all. God bless y'all. Once again, Mr. Kid, I appreciate you. And, man, you've been looking out for us forever, man. So obviously, you ever need me and old King Tiberius, if you never need, if you ever need, us to chip in or whatever, man, just reach out, man. And obviously we there for you, bro.
For sure. Thank you.
I'm sure they're gonna see a lot of you again because you like the go-to guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You like Kobe in the fourth. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna see a lot more of you on our podcast. And once again, go ahead and check out the Isaiah Kid podcast, guys, on all the major streaming outlets. Much love. God bless. We're gonna get up out of here, man. Till next time.
Yes, sir. See you guys.